tried to steal my catalytic converter. Instant regret. The hum of the garage lights was almost hypnotic. For hours, I'd been under my Supra, a tangle of wires, sensors, and custom-fabricated brackets. It wasn't just a car, it was a rolling testament to years of late nights, busted knuckles, and a love affair with engineering. A 1994 Toyota Supra, meticulously restored and modified, pushing well over 600 horsepower. Sarah, my wife, called it my midlife crisis on wheels. Maybe she was right, but I preferred to think of it as a perfectly reasonable hobby. Then Carl, our neighbor, had to go and ruin it. Carl, with his perpetually watering eyes, overly enthusiastic wave, and uncanny ability to know everyone's business. Mark, he'd called out the previous afternoon, his voice cracking slightly. Saw some fellas messing with your car last night. Looked kinda shifty. Shifty? That's putting it mildly. I'd rushed out to the garage, adrenaline already pumping. A quick inspection confirmed my worst fears. Someone had been trying to steal my catalytic converter. The telltale marks of a saw blade were etched into the exhaust pipe, just shy of a clean cut. They'd been interrupted, scared off, or just plain inept. Either way, they'd violated my space, threatened my pride and joy. I spent the rest of the day researching catalytic converter thefts. The internet was awash with stories. A quick, lucrative crime preying on vulnerable vehicles. The metals inside, palladium, rhodium, platinum, worth more than their weight in gold. The police were stretched thin, struggling to keep up with the surge. It's just infuriating, I said to Sarah that evening, pacing the living room. They just waltz up, hack off a piece of your car, and get away with it. Sarah, ever the voice of reason, put down her legal brief. Honey, I understand you're upset, but try to calm down. Report it to the police. Increase your security. Maybe get a camera system. Report it to the police. Right. Like they were going to dedicate a SWAT team to recovering my catalytic converter. I knew they were busy, but I felt violated. The next day, I drove over to Tony's shop. Tony's Performance, a haven for gearheads and speed freaks. Tony, my best friend since high school, understood my obsession with cars. Cat converter theft, huh? You're not the first, Tony said, wiping grease from his hands. Happened to Greg last month. Clean cut, gone in under 2 minutes. Insurance barely covered the cost of a new one, let alone the labor. Greg was a regular at Tony's shop. I remember him showing off his newly purchased Honda Element. Greg was a really nice guy. Insurance covers it, but it's the principle, I replied. We discussed security options, cage shields, alarms, motion sensors. They were all reactive, deterrents at best. I wanted to catch these guys. I wanted them to regret ever laying eyes on my car. Back home, I started fortifying my defenses. An elaborate alarm system with tilt sensors and GPS tracking. Motion sensor lights that could illuminate my entire driveway like a stadium. A reinforced steel shield welded around the catalytic converter. It was a start, but it wasn't enough. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Deterrents were good, but they weren't proactive. I needed a trap. Something non-lethal, of course. Something that would make them think twice about ever messing with my car again. That's when the idea hit me. The next few nights were a blur of schematics, soldering irons, and lines of code. I designed a system that integrated directly into the alarm system. When the tilt sensor was triggered, indicating someone was jacking up the car, it would unleash a cacophony of sound, a blinding barrage of strobe lights, and a surprise. I spent hours scouring the internet, searching for the perfect substance. Something non-toxic, biodegradable, but utterly humiliating. I settled on a concentrated, industrial-strength, bright pink dye used for marking cattle. Indelible, long-lasting, and guaranteed to leave a lasting impression. I installed the system, running wires, connecting sensors, and testing everything meticulously. Sarah watched me, a mixture of amusement and concern in her eyes. You know you're bordering on crazy, right? She said one night, handing me a cup of coffee. Crazy prepared, I corrected, taking a sip. There's a difference. I set up security cameras, positioning them to capture every angle of my car. I started staying up late, glued to the monitors, waiting. Night after night, nothing happened. The neighborhood remained quiet, the streets deserted. I was starting to feel like a paranoid lunatic. Then, one night, I saw them. Two figures lurking in the shadows, their faces obscured by hoodies. They moved with a practiced efficiency, like seasoned professionals. My heart pounded in my chest. I grabbed the remote, my finger hovering over the activation button. They were under the car now, one of them wielding a battery-powered saw. This was it. I pressed the button. The night exploded. The alarm wailed, a piercing, ear-splitting shriek that shattered the silence. The strobe lights flashed, turning the darkness into a disorienting kaleidoscope of white. And then, the die. A high-pressure stream of bright pink paint erupted from nozzles strategically positioned under the car, coating everything. The thieves, their tools, the street, in a thick, vibrant layer. They scrambled out from under the car, cursing and blinded, their clothes and skin stained an impossible shade of pink. They fumbled for their tools, dropping them in their panic. Then, they stumbled back to their beat-up Honda Civic and sped off, leaving a trail of pink dye in their wake. Adrenaline coursed through my veins. I jumped into my Supra, the engine roaring to life. I had their license plate, a pink trail leading right to them, and a desire for justice burning in my gut. I called 911. "I just caught two guys trying to steal my catalytic converter," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "I have their location, their vehicle description, and they're covered in pink dye." The dispatcher sounded skeptical, but I was too pumped up to care. I followed the pink trail, keeping a safe distance, providing updates to the police. The Civic swerved erratically, the driver clearly panicked. They ran a red light, nearly colliding with the minivan. Then, I saw the flashing lights in my rearview mirror. A police cruiser, then another, and another. They converged on the Civic, boxing it in. The thieves were trapped. I pulled over, watching as the officers approached the Civic, guns drawn. The thieves, still covered in pink dye, emerged from the car, their faces etched with fear and humiliation. They were quickly handcuffed and placed in separate patrol cars. Detective Miller arrived on the scene, a weary but professional woman with a no-nonsense demeanor. She examined my car, the dye-covered street, and the apprehended thieves. "Mr. Mark?" she said, shaking her head. "I have to say, that's one of the most creative deterrent systems I've ever seen." I explained my setup, emphasizing the non-lethal nature of the dye and the alarm system. Detective Miller listened intently, taking notes. "We've been tracking these guys for weeks," she said. "They're responsible for dozens of catalytic converter thefts in the area. You just made our job a whole lot easier." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I gave my statement to the police, providing them with all the details of my system. The thieves, identified as Fingers and Knuckles, their real names weren't much better, were charged with multiple counts of theft, property damage, and reckless endangerment. My story made the local news. The headline read, "Engineer catches catalytic converter thieves with ingenious trap." Neighbors stopped me on the street, praising my ingenuity. Carl, of course, was ecstatic, basking in the reflected glory. Tony called me, laughing. "You're a legend, man." Greg's ecstatic. He said he's sleeping better knowing those guys are behind bars. Sarah, while still shaking her head at my antics, admitted she was proud of me. The trial was a formality. Fingers and Knuckles pleaded guilty to avoid a lengthy prison sentence. They were sentenced to community service and ordered to pay restitution to their victims. The catalytic converter thefts in our neighborhood plummeted. People started installing alarms, motion sensors, and even a few copycat dye systems. The sense of security returned. I still park my Supra in the garage every night, but I sleep a little easier knowing that I've done my part to protect it and my community from those who would try to take what isn't theirs. The pink stain on the street faded over time, but the memory of the thieves' humiliation and the satisfaction of seeing justice served remains as bright as the dye itself. One evening, a few weeks later, as I was polishing the Supra in the garage, my phone rang. An unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "Mark?" a gruff voice said on the other end. "Speaking. You messed with the wrong people, buddy. We don't forget." The line went dead. I looked around, a chill running down my spine. Maybe this wasn't over after all. The fight for my peace of mind, for the safety of my community, might just be beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I checked the cameras. I double-checked the alarm. I was ready.